You are tuned in to the Effervescent Home podcast, and today we have a really great conversation about friendships, adult friendships specifically, and maintaining those friendships throughout adulthood and all of its seasons of change. Shimmy and I really get into the details of our own friendship and use that as examples. We've been friends for 25 years now. And so we really had a great conversation about the different bonding that we did to kind of maintain our friendship to last through all of the different seasons. Because some friends do come along and it is only a season, or to make you learn something, or just to kind of get through a certain point. But then after that, it doesn't have the staying power. And so our conversation was like, those things are okay, but at the same time, it's how do we maintain our friendship and have such different lives, yet, we have such a strong bond. And so we're going to have this conversation, and I'm really excited for you to hear it and learn more about us and our friendship. And then also maybe take these nuggets away and put them toward your own friendships. And I hope that you learn something and let us know what you've taken away from it. If you have any other pointers that has worked for you in your friendships, and or if something that we said just didn't really hit the right note, and maybe you need more clarification on that of what we meant. So just give us a comment, tell us what you think, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right, so we are discussing maintaining friendships as an adult and how can we maintain friendships in different seasons of life. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is this week's episode. I got to get used to it. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh goodness. So
We're going to get there.
we are going to get there. So maintaining friendships.
Mhm.
We have been friends for
Gosh,
20,
since 2001, 2000. Since 2000,
2000.
summer 2000.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
25 years this year.
that
25
is crazy.
years. The
That is
average, I looked on statistics, and the average adult friendship lasts about 16 years. So we have surpassed it and maintained
we
strong.
have,
So
we
we have something to say about all this.
have, yeah,
And
we're actually.
we're experts now. I mean, we're well over the 16-year mark. So, but
Yeah.
I could really see um, the the way seasons change. 16
Mhm.
years is like pretty average. I mean, I would have to agree. I'd have to agree. Um, I have a few that have lasted a lot longer,
Mhm.
but I think there's four, four total that have lasted longer. But it's
Mhm.
never been like we've been like nonstop talking. You know what I mean? Like we've went through
Mhm.
like, okay, we're gonna ebb and flow, and and it's there's only been a few where it's been like, okay, we're like constantly in our lives, but
Mhm.
there's always seasons that kind of flow through. So there's different changes in life that happen. So it's interesting to see all of that. But yeah, I can see 16 years.
Yeah.
I can see 16
Uh,
years.
well, if you think about it, I don't know what stage of life that would possibly be, but if someone lived in a small town and
Mm-hmm.
they've been with possibly a group of friends, whether it's through their family, where friends of friends become friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be from like what pre-K to 12,
Yeah.
and then sometimes and a lot of times you separate due to college and things like that, and people start to venture out and you know it's venture out to become adults basically, and
Mm-hmm.
you lose that connection. um and then of course there's the college friends like us,
Mm-hmm.
you know after college you venture out and you start your career and you start your family and you um you know try
You're
to
not always
maintain.
in the same town anymore.
And right, and you no
Mm-hmm.
longer have that same connection. So that average, I can see that being as such as well, because
Mm-hmm.
um, life change and people change
Yeah.
during those
And
times.
I think those major life changes happen probably about every
Mhm.
15 years. So you're thinking, like, okay, well, if you move, like, how often do you stay in a home more than 15 years? And it's rare nowadays that you stay in a home for over 15 years. And then,
True.
like, so you're moving, you're may become really good friends with your neighbors, but when you move off, that friendship isn't maintained. And
Mhm.
then if you have kids, and then but 15 years later, you're looking at like teenage years and going into like their college years, and that's a whole life change. So I could see like every 15 years, 10 to 15 years, you're probably going through some sort of major life change that
Mhm.
kind of facilitates different friendships and the need for different friendships because of those changes. So
It's,
it's definitely a doozy. And it hurts. It really does hurt. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's kind of a relief. uh,
yeah.
but I think like in high school, did you okay, when you were in high school, did you ever have like the clique? Like you were all together and you always did everything together?
Hmm. Well, I did have a group of friends and associates. Um,
I like how
but
you
it
said
was
that, associates.
yeah, because you know me, Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn until like when I was in middle school, but we'll get to that. Um, what's going on? So basically, when I was in high school, my first year, my freshman year, I had gone to a different school, and then my mom moved us away. She got divorced, and then we moved away to somewhere else. So those connections I had with that first school I was in, I didn't maintain them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but
But
it
you
was
also couldn't because how old were you?
probably like 13,
Mm-hmm.
14. So yeah, it was hard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was hard for me to make connections with people because I didn't express myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always me like, "Oh, how you doing? Good." And I just wouldn't be saying anything. Can you
I can see
believe
that.
that?
Oh,
Can
well,
oh, no,
yes and
you
no,
can't.
because I could see like your first impression being like that, but like once you hit through that barrier, no, I can't see that. No.
Yeah, so that's how I was because for so long during when my mom was married to the person she was married to, I didn't express myself always. Um, and then I think all of that was just repercussions of stuff being bullied and uh, you know like elementary, a little bit in middle school, and then like the traumas of that and moving over to high school. And so I kind of like kept in a shell of myself. So I did have like friends and associates, but I never like um, was in the popular, as they would say. My sister, on the other hand, she was like the really popular girl.
Yeah.
Like she was the one that was like uh, who everybody knew,
Is this
and
O?
that's my middle, the middle child. I'm the youngest,
Okay.
and then my older sister, we only were in high school for 1 year, for that 1 year that I was there,
Mm-hmm.
because she's like 3 years older than me. So she was a senior when I was a freshman.
Okay.
And so I never saw her because they have their own wing and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did see her, of course she was like, "Hey, this is my little sister." And then like she totally embraced me and was like, "Oh yeah, this is my little sister." And it was like, "Oh, okay." And then like she would tell like some of the people to watch out for me, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But my middle sister, like, she would say like if I was there in her face, "Yeah, this is my sister." But like
She
we
wasn't going out of her way.
she was not going out her way. Okay?
See,
It
my
was not
brother was protective, but he had his own people. He was 2 years older,
right.
so it was he looked out for me, but it wasn't like in your face look out for me. Although there was a few
Mm,
times that we'll talk about that one day. But yeah, he was very protective.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she gave me some very great advice as far as for how to handle people and what to think of people and things like that. Because I remember we were in middle school and like we were it was like I was probably, I don't know, what's middle school? It's like sixth, seventh, and eighth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was probably either in the sixth or seventh grade. I can't remember. I want to say sixth because I was like young. So we were all getting on a bus, and I was just saying hi to people, like, because it's new,
Yeah.
it's first couple of weeks, and you're getting to know people, and you're branching out saying hi to people, and this girl just like dead looked at me in my face and didn't say anything, and she kept walking. That crushed me as a kid. I got off that bus, was crying, bawling my eyes out.
Aww.
I
I
bawled
see
my
me
eyes.
as an adult just wants to like smack her so hard. Be like, "What's your
Right,
problem?"
right. So, and my sister got off the bus with me. She's like, "Why are you crying?" This is the popular one, the middle one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're like, um, she was a grade ahead of me. She would have been two, but she got left back. But she was a grade ahead of me. And I told her, I was like, I said hi to that girl. And she just looked at me and didn't say anything. And I was like, and I said, this wasn't the first time because I said hi to her on the ride going to school.
Uh
And it
huh.
was the same day. And I was like,
Did she
she
say
didn't
hi
say
then?
anything. No, she didn't say hi at either one of the
At either
times.
one of those times. Okay.
No. And so I was like crying and I was telling her, she was like, that is nothing to cry about. She was like, there are going to be people. She literally told me, there are going to be people that do not like you. And you have to be okay with that. She was like, not everyone is going to like you. Not everybody wants to be your friend. And you have to be okay with that.
And you were like
And
sixth grade, seventh grade,
sixth grade,
sixth grade.
sixth grade, a life lesson I learned, and I carry it to this day. Because
Yeah.
not everybody's going to like you, and not everybody wants to connect with you or wanted to be your friend. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally okay. So it was
See,
one of
I didn't
those
learn that
lessons.
until much later.
And
I did
I
not.
was like, and that was the first and last time I ever caught someone just like being mean just to be mean.
Yeah.
She helped me with that lesson. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I get that now.
Yeah, but you
And
really don't want
like,
it. Yeah.
of course not. You
Mm-hmm.
want to be liked. Even to this day, everybody who and even as an adult don't want to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, or I don't know, want to be bullied, or I wouldn't say bullied. What would you call it? Outcast. Nobody wants to be
Mm-hmm.
outcast.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get along. Things like that. So, but yeah, but get back to high school. High school was okay. I had a group of friends. I had one of my best friends who unfortunately passed away.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, she passed away
Hmm.
back in, I want to say 2004. She passed away.
Really? So we knew each
2003.
other.
And so I didn't know that she passed away until like I came back home to visit or something.
Oh
And it was like,
no.
oh yeah, she passed away. I was like, what? I was devastated.
Mm-hmm. So y'all weren't
Um,
as close
it wasn't until
in those
right,
college years. Okay.
right. So as we were stating earlier, you lose those connections.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like when I took my gap year, as you call it.
It's your gap
I took
year.
my
Yes.
gap year and we hung out. But that's when the relationship started to part because she wanted to do cosmetology, and I was thinking about doing cosmetology, but she was venturing out on her own thing, and then I tried so many times to connect with her, but it just didn't work out, and that's fine. So after high school is when we basically stopped talking. Um, but I didn't see her, you know, during those 4 or 5 years after, and she passed away. So I never got a chance to reconnect with her, and out of the five of us, I probably know one um, that I see ever so often, and
But you're not
we'll
close with.
talk. No, not really,
Yeah.
but I still have a picture of us during our grad night. Um, I don't know if I should show it or share it. Probably not, but
Probably not.
I
We'll
put
leave
smiley
that.
face on everybody. How about that? And it just be me. um, but yeah, and I was okay with that. I was okay not being the most popular person. I mean, sure, at times you were like, wow, they're having this kind of party or they're doing this, and it's like, okay, well, that's cool, but it wasn't like it wasn't the dramatics of, oh, I wasn't invited. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was. I guess I'm usually like that one best friend kind of person. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have like a huge group, but what I didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
clique. Let's put it that way. I didn't have a clique. I had lots of
Yeah.
friends, but it was
Yeah.
like different pieces of my personality. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was my growing up, like in elementary school, I had one best friend. And we were over at each other's houses like every single weekend. Like our parents would just like basically flip flop us back and forth. And she she lived with her dad, and her dad got remarried. We were best friends from like first grade to seventh,
Mm-hmm.
and her dad got remarried, and she moved to the next town, so we weren't going to school and stuff together. We tried to maintain,
Mm-hmm.
and looking back, I was so sheltered that I didn't really realize what was going on. But she was in a very bad situation, not with her
Mm-hmm.
father, but those stepbrothers and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
she started getting into drugs and other things. And when he finally, I guess, saw the light, and they got
Mm-hmm.
divorced, and he moved back to our town, and she was different. She was very different by then, and little innocent Brandy was not her cup of tea as much anymore.
Right.
And we weren't like mean to each other, but you could tell like the friendship had kind of ran its
So,
course.
yeah.
And we tried, but it was like she found like a different group, and it was very much like the goth side, the more into the drugs, the more into like the free spirit style. and
Mm-hmm.
the I think the last time I saw her was like in high school. We were graduating. She gave me a hug. You could tell she was high.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was like, "I love you, Brandy." And then I guess 10 years later, maybe when Facebook really started going like more,
Mm-hmm.
and we were starting to connect on like class alumni and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
posted and I was like, hey, I'm looking for so and so, if there's anybody heard any from her. And then I got a message from one of the guys that we went to elementary school, and he was like, it's not good. And she had overdosed and passed away. Yeah.
Oh,
And I
I'm
was like,
sorry.
at that time I knew, but I was like, oh, I was thinking of like her brothers and her dad, and like all the time that we spent together, and just, it was for naught. And I wasn't there, and I didn't know what was going on. I was so sheltered that I didn't really realize until later what was going on with her. And I wish that I would have known. That way I could have been a little bit more. But yeah, that was one of those regrets. So I didn't really, like, I had little aspect. Like I had my church friends, and then I
Mm-hmm.
had band friends, and then I
Yeah.
had, it was like different things. Like I had like little groups, but they did not get along together. I remember like a birthday party. I was like 16 or 17 because I had a car,
Mm-hmm.
and we all went, and we were trying to like hang out and do things, and I was so shy and so kind of like whatever y'all want to do. That no one really made a decision until like one of them was like, well, let's go over here. And then it was, you could just see that it was just not jiving that well. It was not jiving. But it was interesting because that was like the first time I really got all the group together. You know what I mean? Like all my little friends together, and it was just, it didn't jive. So we didn't have a clique, but I did good with like individually. So I had like a large group of friends if you really look at it, but it wasn't cohesive. So I always felt like torn, like, okay, I got to spend time with this person, and I got to spend time with this group, and then I got to go. So I always felt like I was going back and forth, and so that gets exhausting. It really does. So I kind of longed for that just really close group, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
so go off to college, and I'm up there in Atlanta by myself, and I'm like depressed because that first summer was like really hard because it was just me and my brother up there. He already had friends up there. He was doing his own thing, and I'm
Right.
like sitting in an apartment by myself or going to work. Like that's all I was doing, and I had like a couple classes that summer, and that was before y'all started, and
Mm-hmm.
that by that fall, I was so just like, I need friends. I need friends bad. So they had told us to like, hey, you're gonna connect with your classmates, and you really need to have like your information, and that way y'all could just give out. So there wasn't like QR codes and things like that. So I made like little business cards.
I remember. I should have kept it.
I know you should have.
I should
I think
have
it even
kept
have a picture
it.
on it, didn't it? Did it have a
Um,
picture?
you had so many different ones,
Yeah, I
and
had a
then you
few
had
different ones.
the card. Let's talk about the card holders, okay? I think you even got me one for graduation,
Of
and I had
course.
it for this time. It was so pretty, but like you had different ones, and I was like, "What is this girl? What is going on?"
A little bit extra, just a little bit.
But no, I think you had like, was it you and your dog on it? No.
No,
Um,
me and my
no,
brother,
it was
and then like one of his
fine.
friends
It
did
was a
some
graphic
artsy
design.
pictures.
It wasn't a picture of you.
It
It was
wasn't a
like
picture.
kind
Okay.
of designed, and I can't
I don't
remember what
even
it was.
remember.
I can't remember what it was, but it was jeweled colors. I feel like, was it jeweled colors? You had so
I
many
don't know.
different ones. Okay,
I don't know.
let's talk about how many different business cards you had.
But that was the day where you could start to print these things out by yourself.
Yes,
And so
it
you didn't
was.
have that capability a few years prior, but at that point you were able to print it out yourself. So
But
I could change
honestly,
it with every page. It could be a different card.
okay,
So
okay. Let's talk about it, Brady, because like literally, what 18-year-old has business cards? Even to
this
this day,
one,
I
and
know.
it worked. It worked. I got two of my very best friends from those business cards. Thank you very much.
You did, and I was like, I've never had a business card before. Let's just talk about it. As a year-old, I've never had a business card. I was like, and I can't even remember. I remember seeing you around because I did have a couple of friends that I met prior of you.
Hmm.
Um, so
And
um,
I had one prior view, and we could talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
yeah.
you knew what you wanted to
So
talk about. Yeah,
you want to talk about it now? Or you want to talk about it later?
yeah, because I think it was like a prequel to kind of our friendship. I think we
Yeah,
needed those to kind of see the value in each other a little bit more.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
Um, so the one,
Uh huh.
and I don't even know what to call her. I wouldn't
Is
know
E
how to.
just a E?
Okay, E.
Uh-huh.
Um, so when I met E, we were in the same apartment complex
Mm-hmm.
because that they didn't have housing, and that was the housing
Yeah. You were
for
in
the
the kind of
college.
dorm housing, and I was in an
Got
apartment
the
with
dorm,
my brother. Yeah. So I wasn't in dorm housing at the time.
right, and so I don't remember what exactly happened or how we met, but I believe it was probably during a class of some sort. And so, as you know, as I said, I kind of stuck to myself. And so I didn't express myself a lot. So I was just like, I'll say hi and this, that, and other. So I wasn't shy. I just was quiet. I didn't talk a lot. Like I said, I didn't express myself. And so when I met E, she was very expressive.
Mm-hmm.
Very expressive. Um, very I wouldn't even say boisterous, but I would very vibrant personality,
She was
very,
charismatic.
um,
Yeah. She was very charismatic.
very, very. She's very sweet and a very um qualities that you would say, okay, this is a fun girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's a party girl, and
Yeah.
maybe I need to kind of like lean into that because I didn't really experience that because, as you know, I was sheltered as well.
Yeah, both me and you were
So
sheltered in different
we were
ways, but sheltered.
sheltered, but different types of shelter. Absolutely. Um, it just wasn't like I wasn't. My shelter was different from your shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents shield you from a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Mine did too, but at the same time, they didn't allow me to go anywhere. I think that's my shelter.
Yeah, but I
That was
also had the
them
rose-colored
keeping me.
glasses. Like we let a like they sheltered it so much that it was like a different lens on, like a different
Yeah,
view. Yeah.
yeah. I knew of the dangers. I didn't care. Mama was like, no.
She's like, no, not happening.
No. So I kind of leaned in it with E, and so like I'm not in all due um respect to her, and I do wish her the best. I just feel like our connection was immediate, and it was like she was fun and she loved doing things, and so that brought me up. She helped me um express myself more,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm glad for that, that relationship we had, because there's good sides and downsides to all relationships, where um someone can contribute to your life, as well as can somewhat chip away, and
Mm-hmm.
they can be exhausting and deplete you of your energy as well. But
Yeah.
um,
And it's really no
but
fault of theirs, but it's something that
right,
the connection just kind of is not as fulfilling as it needs to be all around.
and that whole blame can't be on this person,
Mm-mm.
because at the time they didn't realize that they had some type of mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand the reason why our relationship deteriorated, learning that now and looking back. But of course, when we first met, it was all fun. She was seeing different guys, and I was like, okay, I like her. I mean, maybe I get some pointers. So she was just, like I said, very, very expressive, um, so in touch with herself and who she was, just unapologetically herself,
Mm-hmm.
and I just loved that,
Yeah.
and I gravitated to that, and um, how expressive she was, and when she was upset, she let people know she was upset.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I liked being around her
So,
too, but it was like I could tell like it was a different type of relationship. Yeah, yeah, it was, but she was fun and she
yeah,
would talk her mind and she didn't
yeah,
seem to like have a problem expressing, what she needed and
N-
wanted, and hmm
Not at all. And so it was fun. Um, you know, we really connect during music as well. She
hmm
introduced me to her bands. I introduced to her. Some of these bands I still listen to this day. Now I think of her, but like she was just a fun girl to be around.
hmm
She knew how to have fun, but on the edge of that, she didn't know how to be a good friend. She didn't know how, in a sense of um, loyalty of friendship. I don't think people understand that. Like,
hmm
um, you can be a friend to someone, but the loyalty of friendship is like if someone is talking about you behind your back and you're there, are you just going to sit there and listen
hmm
to them talk about you? Or are you going to talk up for your friend? Or are you going to join them? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She wasn't loyal in that sense. Like, I remember this guy I had a crush on. Oh my God. And she was the one I told about. And
She told him.
she literally told him. And I just was like, I just didn't know. I was like,
But did she honestly, was she trying to go ahead and get you two together, and that was her way to do it, or
no,
was she
no,
trying to
no.
sabotage it?
I don't know her motivations at that time,
hmm
but it was definitely like, oh, I have tea, and I'm in a big group friend crowd, so let me just spill the tea.
hmm
And the
She did it
person
in front
who
of
I
other people.
absolutely,
Ugh.
absolutely. And I would never done that to anyone. You know what I'm saying? Of
Mm-mm.
course, it's like, well, how would you not know that was not something you should have told? And it's like that's like elementary stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole situation was definitely elementary, and I was like, okay, so I know not to say certain things to you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's when that happened. I think I told you I can't remember, and I found out because I said hi to the person and they just totally was like, hey, and just kept walking. But because before we used to be talking and it was just like cool. Now
Yeah.
that they knew that I liked them, but it was like, that's fine. You don't have to like me back, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just thought that was immature too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, you college kids, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
You are growing still and trying to figure out relationships and
yeah,
stuff. So
figure
yeah.
out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't blame him for that. So um yeah, and I just was like, that is why would you? I would never said that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I never experienced that even in like elementary, middle school, or college
Oh, I
because
did.
that never
I
happened
stopped.
to me.
I stopped talking to like friends about who I liked back in elementary school. Yeah. Until like you, I didn't. Yeah. No. It was no. I don't care what you think. Yeah, it's not coming out. It's not coming out because it happened like on the playground. That whole kind of elementary
Uh,
school thing where it's like, oh, you like so and so, and then they got to go tell him, and then he's like, and that was like my first kind of experience with that. But then also it was I had a friend
mhm.
that would if I said I liked someone, she would go and try to not hook up with them, but she would try to make sure that their attention was on her instead of me. And it
Mm,
was like, oh, okay, yeah. Lesson one: don't tell friends about who you like.
right.
It was yeah. hmm
But needless to say, I think that's when we start to connect a little more because you know the college parties and stuff like that is fun, but I also need a balance of who I actually um, can connect more with because I feel like all of that was just filler. It wasn't.
hmm
It was fun for the time, and it's like I said, associate. But it's like I knew if I ever um, gotten, um, if I overindulge, I never got really drunk, did I? I think I did one time, but it was a it was a
I don't
it was a
remember you
college party.
getting, yeah.
So I think if we were in a public setting, I think she would have been one of those people that would have left me. I don't think she would have made sure I was okay, but I would have
Mm,
made sure she was okay.
yeah. I see.
Um, if it was in a sense of because we just met, I think it was later on where she realized, okay, well, I should be better with this, and this was
Okay.
all happening during the times when we first initially met. So it was kind of like you kind of forgive and forget. You forget
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, well, this is all new friendship, so no one really, I guess, hold loyalty for that. But
Yeah.
um, but he was definitely fun. I was friends with her. Oh gosh, until I want to say 2015, 16 from 2000. So we made it to 16 years, I guess,
That's
16 or
16
17
years?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I had to like stop communication and
Yeah.
um, her ways of things. Had her experiences and things like that is her experiences. She had a lot of them. Um, a lot of things happened to her, which I felt bad about. But at the same time, it was just repercussions of her actions a lot of the times, and I felt like I was her touchstone of her moral compass at
Yeah.
sometimes.
I could see
I
that.
felt like I was that for her, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, she was my touchstone of letting loose
Letting, yeah.
and um touching that or getting to know that side of myself that I didn't explore before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a interesting relationship, an interesting dynamic, um, and I've learned a lot of experiences. And like I said, I wish her and her family the best. I got to know her family. I saw her son grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, up until a point now. I mean, he's grown now, but
I was about to
um,
say, he's got to be grown now, right?
yeah, he's
Oh,
if
wow.
he's not in if he's not a senior in high school or just graduated, he should be.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow. Man,
but
time's flying.
yeah, and at the same time, and people have different growths. I didn't have any kids. She had kids. I think her son definitely grounded her, gave her um purpose to
Mm-hmm.
what she wanted to do, and she changed a lot of her ways in that regard. So I'm just really happy for her, and I do wish her the best.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that relationship didn't last. It hurt, and I still, and that's the thing. Like relationships don't always last. You can still care about the person, but you have to know when to let go
Mm-hmm.
and when to um make sure that you're okay, because
Yeah.
if you keep dragging something that no longer has wheels,
Yeah.
you
It's going to
exhaust
slow
you.
you down. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exhausting, and every time you get together, it's no longer uplifting. It's it's draining,
It's
you
draining.
know.
Yeah. No. Been there. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like girl,
Yeah.
I'm giving you this information, these gems, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I mean, sometimes she would, I feel like she would help me out a couple of times with different things, but at the same time, I feel like the advice she would give, I'm like, even in my mind, I was like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go with that advice.
Yeah.
That's not helping me. And I feel like
She's the same age as us, right?
yeah.
Okay, she's the same age as us. See,
Same,
mine
same.
is she was to go for before you was she was quite a bit older. She was
Mhm.
starting. She was in our class, but she um was kind of doing like a start over, and that I respected that part of it. It was like that start over. If you know, it's never too late to jump into something you love, and
Right.
it was she kind of took that it's like she saw that need in me that needed friends
Mhm.
and would do that loyalty in me. But yeah, Kay was very like I wouldn't say manipulative. I don't
Mhm.
think she but I think she latched on to that energy that I was putting out there like I'm loyal and I need a friend and I'll do anything for this friendship. And it was I think she latched on to that because that's what she needed. And I think
Mhm.
it worked good for us for a little bit, but then at the same time I think it morphed into something that was quite draining and quite like I felt even though she was quite a bit older than me, I felt like I was the adult in the situation and I was the one that was kind of like the responsible one. And when the way she coped with things because she did have a mental issue that she was working through, and she
Mhm.
really needed to be on medication. Instead of being medication, she tried to just self medicate, and that I think was like one of those moments where I'm like, I don't like this, and that's whenever I tried to step away. Is like you can't self medicate whenever you have a child right there. If you self medicate, you need to do that just by yourself. You don't need to bring anybody else into that situation. And whenever you have a little baby right there, it was like one of those glaring moments to me where I'm just like, okay, this is not what I was hoping this would be. But we were, I
Right.
mean, was hung out with her family all the time. Her husband was there all the time, and then I got to see the birth of her baby and be around them. And that little girl is probably, I guess,
And go.
25 now. I mean,
Oh
she's
wow.
probably 23, 24 now. Yeah, because she had her pretty early on, and that's when she ended up getting out of school. But yeah, I even lived with them for a couple of weeks while I was getting out of my first apartment, and before
Did
school ended,
you?
like the lease ended, and I stayed with them, and that was interesting because they lived in a loft, and here I am like bebopping on into their life, and it was she was great in a lot of ways. I think she loosened the veil over my eyes a little bit, and I was able to see a little bit more because she was very real with me. Like it was that kind of like intoxicating like oh like if I ask a question she's just gonna like blurt it out like it's just like she was very open communication, very open expression, very artsy. I loved her vibe in a lot of ways, and it felt very kind of freeing for such a sheltered person. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, well, this could be great. It's gonna be fun. But then it ended up being that kind of like I felt like I was the adult and having to kind of rein in
Mhm.
the you know making sure that she felt seen and loved and heard, but yet I didn't really feel that. So it was we definitely didn't last 16 years. But because once we once she dropped out and she was a full-time mom,
Mhm.
I'm a college kid in the city, so
Right.
there was no reason for us to really like stay in contact constantly because I was in school. And if you weren't in school with me, and I didn't really date or anything because I was just exhausted all the time from all of the projects we were doing. So it was all of the focus had to go there. So I didn't maintain that friendship. And it just sometimes I feel guilty because she did want me to be her daughter's godmother, but I was also
Mhm. Mhm.
19. So
Right. That's a lot of
there's not a
responsibility.
whole lot you could do for a little girl that, you 19. So it's it felt a little like kind of pushed into and not really
Oh,
asked. So, mhm. But then I met this vivacious, funny, very gifted designer in my class.
Did
And
you?
yeah, and I never could say her name correctly. And that has to be like one of the first memories that I have of you is the Brady. My name is not da da da. It is da da da. And I was like, okay, got you. And I never went away from it then. I remember going up the stairs with you, and you were just like Brady, and everybody else was right. My name is not. I was like, okay, I got you. Oh, but yeah, it was like I had seen you in classes before, but I don't remember. Were we in a group project together?
No, no.
How
It
did
was
we
never a
like?
project. What happened was, it was like it wasn't a group project. Sometimes we would like share. I guess it was a group project. It was me, you, L, and somebody else because you and L
Uh-huh.
sat together, and
Yeah,
I
we were
didn't
next to
have
each other.
anyone because it was 7 o'clock morning class, and I would sleep.
You would.
I would sleep. I had to get up at
Uh,
flipping 5 o'clock
I
in the
was saying
morning
because
for
y'all had to drive the
4:30.
van from y'all's dorm, and y'all weren't close.
No, and it was
Uh-uh.
a 7 o'clock class, and I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to either take the bus, and that was before they had vans for us. So I
Oh,
had to get up.
really? Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
had to take
A lot
MARTA?
of yes.
Oh, that's
At
not
first,
right. Okay, I didn't realize
like
that. I thought you always had the vans.
no, they didn't get the fans until like 2021. So like summer,
No, not 2021.
I'm sorry, 2001.
Girl,
2001.
you lying
Um,
too.
yeah, like who am I lying to? Like the first quarter, we didn't have anything, either hitch rides or Tate Marta.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that
when
would be really early. Oh my gosh. It was
oh,
early enough
okay,
for me, and I was driving like from Marietta.
and not to mention, excuse me, not to mention that for my gap year, I went to bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning and slept till like 2 in the
Yeah.
afternoon. So
And then all of a sudden
my,
you're in a 7 o'clock class with a very strict attention or attendance
yes,
policy.
and you
Yeah.
had to be there, and it was like, girl, the
Hmm.
brain shut down, and I didn't even realize it until
Look,
he
I will
tapped
never
my foot.
forget one day you fell asleep and our teacher, Mr. Marty,
Uh-huh.
watched you and he was like, How how expensive is this class? I have a cat going across going
eleven
across my
hundred dollars.
desk. Yeah, he was like, "How expensive is this class?" And she's sleeping through it, and I was like, "Maybe she's sick. I don't know. Like, leave the girl alone." Oh,
I remember I woke up. He tapped my desk, and I woke up, and everybody was giggling. And I was like, oh well. And you know
but you
me,
don't
I
really
don't
get
embarrass.
embarrassed. Yeah, you
I
don't.
don't get embarrassed. I was like,
You were kind of like,
okay.
"Oh, hey, morning."
And so, Elle's person, from what you said, her first impression of me, y'all thought I was on drugs, and that's okay.
No, we just were trying
That's
to figure out
okay.
why in the world you always fell asleep. But it was like I kept thinking maybe you were sick. But you honestly like weren't like it's not like we were having bets on it or anything, but it was just kind of like is she okay?
Mm-mm. But maybe we did have, but I remember your haircut was the same as E's haircut,
I know there was so many similarities. It was
and
weird.
I was like, you look like y'all look nothing alike.
I know it was like you said you look like so and so and I was like and then you showed me a picture and I was like,
No,
okay.
y'all saw each other. I said, this is
We're
my
white and
cousin.
we have this haircut.
That was it. It was the
That was
haircut.
it.
That was it. and you're both Caucasian, so that y'all didn't have the
Yeah.
same eye color, nothing,
Mm-mm.
nothing,
No.
just the haircut, and y'all both looked at me like I had
Okay.
twins.
It's okay though. It's okay. I have
Yeah.
been called
Well,
worse. she
yeah.
she was actually
It,
very pretty, so I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
yeah, you both are. She's a pretty girl. So what I was saying was, okay, so it was a project. We had a project together.
Okay.
And I think
Or
that's
did we
when
just
we
work together?
it was um in assignment because I didn't have anyone that was next to me.
Okay. Okay, that's right.
And so
Yeah.
I joined you guys because you was right across from me and I just joined
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
And so it was a in class assignment. I think
Uh-huh.
that's what it was. And then I think we just had lunch and then we just was talking and you gave me your
Uh-huh.
business card.
And it worked. And it worked. My email address and my phone number. That's all you needed.
Yes.
No
And your
Facebook, no
email address
Instagram.
was mixed with your dog at the time. You had the dog. You had an email address with your dog's name, any?
No. I've always had my
No?
name.
Oh, okay.
No, it was my first and middle name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually still have it.
Do you still got it? It's a
25
Hotmail,
years
right?
later. 25 years later, I still
I
have it.
my Hotmail account was just I don't even have it anymore. But that's so funny. But yeah, and that's when it started. And then
Uh-huh.
like I think it was like some time later I got upset about the whole thing about being told um that someone told me that she told the person and I was really upset. She was like you was like, go ahead and get your things. You're gonna stay over and we're gonna just have
I was like,
and
come
I was
on.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
We're not crying about this. You're going to come hang out.
No. Yeah, we're just gonna hang out. It's a Friday, and we're just gonna hang out.
Uh-huh. Well, at the time, I had not went to like any college parties or anything like that because I was so removed from the dorm life because I was in the apartment in Marietta with my brother who was hanging
Right.
out with his own friends. And so I was like, I didn't do any of that stuff. So it was like I had my all my supplies, and that's what that was my draw. It was like, look, come over and work on our projects together, and I've got everything. You don't have to worry about anything. I had
Yeah.
like everything in that closet.
You literally was a small Staples.
Hmm.
You literally had everything. You
Thanks to my
had
mom.
I'm like, who has a laminate machine? Who
Uh-huh.
has that? You?
Yeah, me, me, and poster board and foam core and every type of scrapbook paper and magazine and just all of it. My mom like made sure that I was covered. Sketchbooks, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
You
And
had
then I was like
track.
a spoiled like I had the daddy's credit card and all that. So it was oh, you need something, let me go get it. So it was
Right.
in a
You
way, it was I think it was almost like, okay, maybe I could buy friendship. It was, but at the
oh
same time it was like, no, it was you could rustle out who is good people and who will take advantage of you. And I was so much an open book that it was glaringly obvious who would actually take advantage and who was just there for, like we're all just going to work together and be friends. So, but yeah, there was some moments of that with other people. But yeah, that fall quarter is when Elle sat next to me and I changed her life forever with a business card too. So
mhm.
that one was fun because she had taken a year. It's all of us had taken like a year different. She had went to like a like a regional college up in the
Mm-hmm.
mountains. And she did that for a year. I took a year and did junior college to get some of my basics in, and you took a gap year. So we were already like we were all about the same age. We were all had already been in some sort of out of high school for a year, and then we had
Mm-hmm.
went to interior design school
Mm-hmm.
and met up at this private college, and uh, so I think me and her had a lot of familiar similarities with our families and like the
Right.
setup. Her family had the dad had um
Home
his own
business.
company, yeah, his own company, and then my of course my dad had his own company, and then they all kind of like the families kind of stayed close and worked with each other. She was still living at home, um, so it was we meshed really quickly. And then when you started like hanging out with us and doing more things together, it added like a fun aspect to everything because your personality was just so vivacious and bubbly that I just like, oh, I love her. And then we started doing like the more like artsy photography and the
Yeah.
painting, and we had I think it took it because our schooling was so technical and it was so
Yes.
demanding that sometimes we had to take those moments outside of that with each other to go have fun at the high museum and do
Yes.
the little art, like we take the MARTA down to the what did they have, college nights.
Yeah.
Did they have they did have college nights, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was called, but it was like a college night, like a meet and greet kind of mingle,
Yeah.
and we would try to outdo each other with like the craziest outfits. And yeah, Lindsay always got the attention. She was gorgeous. But
Uh-huh.
she had this like laid back, not in your face
It,
beauty that I think
yeah.
like guys would just gravitate to. And it was funny
Yeah.
because anytime I saw somebody was cute, like they were like all about her. And I was going, dang it. I mean, I get it, but come on, I'm here too.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yo,
you are.
now I have to tell you, my husband has a love hate relationship with a certain glass tabletop.
Oh, where is it?
One of
I didn't
one
see
of
it.
our very late, gosh, it must have been like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Our run to Kinko's from my
Uh-huh.
apartment to go do like because we couldn't, nothing was digitized then, so we had to like go print things and make sure it was good at Kinko's that was open 24 hours. And then, I always said that if Kinko's and Starbucks would pair up together with 24-hour coffee, with 24-hour print service right next to colleges, they could have, I mean, really gone somewhere. Not like they haven't,
Okay.
but it would have been a huge deal. Some
It
coffee
would.
shop. Some coffee
Nobody would
shop.
have left that place.
No, I mean, no. We just would have stayed there. We would have worked
Right.
in the coffee shop and then went and printed our stuff right there all night long. But it was yeah, what did we do? We came back and then I saw this like big round glass tabletop out by the dumpster and I was like, I have to have this. So it was cold. Wasn't it cold?
It was a little cool. It was.
It
It
was
was
cool.
during
It wasn't like
fall.
frozen cold. And we
No.
put the top down and rolled that heavy ass glass tabletop and into the back of the car. Elle's sitting in the back like a beauty queen, waving like like she's behind like bulletproof glass. Me and you are cracking up with the music and everything all the way down to my back of my apartment complex. And
That
I
was.
have carried that stupid glass tabletop with me everywhere, and I won't let it go because I was like, yeah, that just reminds me of like so
Yeah.
fun, just
Your
all of the
neighbor.
conversations, huh?
I feel like was the neighbor above? Did he have like A crush either on you or L? Do you have a crush on you or L?
No, no, he was older.
No.
Remember, he'd come in with all these different girlfriends. Remember,
Oh yeah.
we would like
Oh
count
yeah.
like how many, because he was like the biker girlfriend and the preppy girlfriend, and the oh yeah, he had them in and out of there all the time. No, he
Yeah.
was he was quite a bit older than us, but yeah, we would totally just like sit on the balcony and just like watch. All we'd be
Yeah.
out there working, and he would bring in all the girls. And I think you said something one time like, "Hey, baby," and he was like, "Hey." Got another one. Like he knew we were
I
watching him.
probably, I
Yeah, I
probably
think
did.
he was like behind me or something like that. Like he was in the apartment behind.
I thought he was above you because you would hear him.
No, 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 no. That was that little tiny girl, and she would walk like a man, like a full grown 300-pound man up there, like banging around. And yeah, and then I would see her, and I'm like, she's like a sprite of a thing. How can you walk so hard? But yeah, no, she wasn't an issue. It was I had really good neighbors right there. I had really good ones. The other one, not so much. The when I
No,
moved to the post one, it was really good. But whatever, Marietta, not so much. Off of Delk Road, no.
no.
But yeah, we had. I think college years, we were all kind of in that same boat of trying to find like who we were,
Mm-hmm.
where the boundaries were. We had open communication. That's whenever I stopped being shy, because I was
Mm-hmm.
extremely shy before
Yeah,
then.
you were.
And it's like that it's completely absurd to be shy to a certain, like now I see like why are you shy? Why? It does nothing for you. It just holds you back. So now reserved is another thing. You could totally be reserved. Like you said, you weren't shy, but you weren't like just as talkative until you
Mm-hmm.
really got to know somebody, and then it was just like so much fun. But like all of the antics that we had growing, going through all of the different pressurized classes that we were in with all of the, I mean, it was like we were in a real uh, fighting interior design firm, that they were just like these deadlines and everything were big and real. And they put a lot of pressure on us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In
And which
world
yeah,
experience.
real world
Yeah,
experience, because that's
real
how it
world.
really
Right.
is. And I think, and I appreciate what they did. Um, it was absolutely exhausting. It did not lend well for a social life whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And so your only friends really were those in the same field as you, because I think she wasn't in interior design, she was in graphic design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
They separated us too, because remember like halfway through we ended up in another building, in like an
Mm.
office building, and then so they
Yeah.
separated us all out from the
Other.
others, because we did
Yeah.
have like all the resource libraries and all the more technical stuff that we had to do. So it was it was interesting to kind of try to maintain those friendships, make friends, and then
Right.
maintain those in that environment. And so if you weren't in the right classes with each other, it was really hard to maintain, because we were constantly having to work on these projects with people.
Right.
And it was pressurized, definitely, which I think
Mm-hmm.
forged really strong friendships within that, because we had
Mm-hmm.
went through stressful ups and downs. I mean, it was I think we would do all-nighters together all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And when
All the
you're doing an all-nighter working on these projects, delirium sets in, and also real thoughts, and those lows, like when you lose everything and you're freaking out. And I'm sorry, but I, when I say you, I'm thinking universally, but when I'm really stressed, I could totally be a bitch. And it takes people around me to understand she's really stressed out. Do not take it personal. But at the same time, I had friends around me that would check me too. uplift, and check. And I think that is what that bond was about. So I think college friendships are more about that experience together
Yeah.
of the hard times versus in high school, you're stuck together. Like you're only there together because of where you live in your city. It's not like you have real interests that are together. So to find a lasting relationship in high school, I think is actually few and far between. Versus if you go to college or you do some sort of work experience where the bonds are really tested because you are seeing the really highs and really lows, and you're with each other trying to uplift each other and help each other along as much as you can. Because weak friendships will die really fast because they're being tested really quickly. And if you don't want that around you, then you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to do a project with her anymore. And you won't. But yet, if you get something from it and you're constantly growing together, I think that just created a bigger bond. And I think that's what we have, because it is definitely maintained.
Absolutely. And oh shoot. And there were so many ones that, you could have connected with. That I was thinking back, I was like, oh my gosh, she could have totally hung out with this person or that person. And it and it's not necessarily that you didn't, it's just that it's a matter of connecting. Like I the girl that worked at Hooters.
They really had a lot of good conversation at first, but I think that what was her name? Stormy? We were talking about Stormy?
No, Stormy didn't work. She had the husband.
She did, but she was a Hooters girl. We had a bunch of Hooters girls. She? Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the other. I think her name was Lindsay. The other Lindsay.
The blonde?
Yeah.
I think her name was Amy.
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But
she's the one that Tyann was like, she'd wear the belly shirts and he pulled out the shirt. He said, that's why you're sick.
That's why you're always sick.
I loved him. Oh, I loved him.
Now, Violetta. Remember Violetta?
She had a sugar daddy.
She had a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
Violetta was amazing. She was everything I wanted to be.
That girl would come in coiffed from head to toe, looking glam and just like, oh, she was fabulous. She was fabulous.
And you know that she paid people to do them boards. Come on.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah. But she definitely directed it.
Yeah.
Now, absolutely. Whether or not she hand cut those boards, no.
I don't think so.
But she directed it because that was her design from top to bottom. But she probably didn't do the manual labor.
No, absolutely not. And 6-inch heels and perfectly manicured hands and perfect makeup all the time.
The time. Yeah. And here we are, like, barely putting concealer up underneath our eyes, trying to, like, make it there to make a presentation. We're alive.
But she already had her own thing set up. She was just there to get her degree. Mm-hmm. It was just for certification, to stamp that say, I am a pro.
Well, I'm going to be a little critical.
Okay.
She needed to go to school to polish her designs. Because she had the look, but she didn't have the technical side.
Okay. But she had the clientele.
She already had the clientele. She already had the business. She was just... you could tell she was, like, learning as she went. But she was probably, like, working off of the decorating side. But she was trying to do the design part of it on the fly. And it wasn't working. And so she needed to go back to school. But then, like, by the end, she was, like, great. I mean, it wasn't... Yeah, she didn't have the weaknesses that she did. So she needed to go to school for design if she wanted it. But decorating, she was great. She already had the clientele for decorating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was funny. But, yeah, there was... Now, one thing that I learned in school that you helped me with was the... we were sitting in a class, and in interior design, let me see if I could word this correctly. In interior design, it is a little more technical than a lot of the arts programs. And with that comes a lot of women and men, but really a lot of women who are that type A personality who want things a certain way and who will kind of trample on people to get there, including teachers. And there was always like this group that really like, well, is this going to be on the test kind of thing. And I remember we had this really great Italian art history teacher. And he, he's from Italy. He has lived with this stuff. He's telling you about it from firsthand experience. And instead of just soaking up that knowledge and living through his views of a native, these certain group would just get mad at him and just like pull out. Like, well, is this going to be on the test? If it's not going to be on the test, I don't even want to know, and it was this
Right.
drama. And with that became like strong personalities on that side. And so I was learning to differentiate between being assertive, but also I don't like confrontation either. So I may not have been, I was coming out of my shy zone, but I also did not, like, I've never liked confrontation. And one thing that I learned from you is that I think, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I don't even know, but I know that it was, you called me out on not having your back with someone who was saying something about you. And I was trying to like de-escalate, like just leave it alone, don't worry about it. And you were like, you gonna let her say that about me? And I was just like,
Right.
But it was that realization, okay, if this is my friend, I have to have her back no matter what. With other people, I can have a conversation with you later about something that maybe we didn't agree with, but now was not the time. I should have been like, look, you need to see your way out of this conversation and we will deal with this later. And but that was one of those moments, those learning moments, that we had that bond enough to be like, look, if you're going to be my friend, I need you to be my friend all around. I need you to, even if I'm in the wrong, I need you to have my back. And it was that kind of like aha moment, of this is what friends do. Yeah. This is what friends do. Even though I'm not confrontational, I still need to be at your level at that moment, and then we can pull it down.
I remember that because that was probably like our one little tiff that we probably did have, because the girl that was in front of us, she was definitely being rude to me, and it was targeted towards me.
Yeah.
And I felt a certain way, and I was like, did she really just like say that to me? And I'm looking like shocked at the fact that, you know, it's like one of those things, because I didn't know if it was racially motivated. I don't know what her deal was towards me. I didn't know her, and I know that I was being attacked for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So at that time, I didn't know how I felt, and I was like looking at you, like, did you really just see what she said to me?
Yeah.
And then you was looking straight, like telling me to, like, I'm like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
at
And
that
see,
time,
I
I
could
didn't
see
know what
her
level of
past
respect.
you, and she was like looking and like, wait, you could tell she was about to get in, and I was like in de-escalate mode, and you're like, wait a minute, you're supposed to have my back. And I was
Right.
like, oh yeah, right, I do. So it was,
So
yeah.
yeah, and it was like one of those things, like when it did happen, and I'm glad that we talked about it, because I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not.
Oh no, we
But I'm
talked
glad,
about it later. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that I was able to express myself at that time and let you know, and that but yeah, I just was at that time. That was our only little thing that I could have thought of in our friendship, where it didn't go so smooth. It didn't, you know. It's like one of those things, and there was lessons that I learned too from you. in regards of you being hospitable and you being such a person that wants to always help out. And me, and I'm like, she's gonna help me out. Okay, I'll help her out. We help each other out. You get what I'm saying? And it was
Mhm.
like I wore out my welcome one a couple of times, and I was like, okay, well, I need to not wear out my welcome here. I can't wear
But
out
I
my
think
welcome with my
it's
friend
that
because I'm like
balance.
always sitting with her. Yeah, and it was like you, and then like I would have my bratty moments, and you'll just like look at me like you need to get it together, and I have my breakdowns, and you'll just be like. When you was in your work mode, you was in your work mode. Everybody
I
was in their
was.
work mode, and you would
Yeah.
be looking at me like, "What are you working on?" And I'd be like, "I don't know," because I was so like, it was so much
It was so
overwhelmed.
much.
It
But
was so
look, I'm
much.
telling you, it's amazing to watch your brain work because you would be all over the place, but it's not like you weren't working. You were
Yeah,
putting it all together up here. It just wasn't coming down to the
yeah,
paper yet. And so it was like it didn't come out of the paper until like the last minute. And I'm like working through all my like I gotta get it all on paper. And the differences were fun to kind of see. But it was that contrast and open communication helped me a
hmm
lot because we were educating each other. And I
yes,
think that was the thing is we didn't give up on each other after one tiff. And we didn't bring it
yeah,
to somebody else as drama.
yes,
And
yes,
that is where we really grew is that if you don't bring it to somebody else as drama, then you actually have a chance. I absolutely hate it when I see on Facebook passive aggressive comments. To me, a lot of these passive aggressive comments don't allow for growth.
right,
And when you have this kind of like where we can't have open communication, and if you tell me, hey, I was hurt by what you did with this, I'm fine. I'm going to get over it. But this is the information I need for me to feel seen and validated.
hmm
And if you can't provide that, then this friendship will probably run its course rather quickly. I would rather not run the course quickly, and I'd rather have the communication and you not bring this to somebody else's drama. Because at that point, I don't trust you anymore.
hmm
And I think that and if you don't trust a friend, then that's really no longer a friend. That's more of an acquaintance. Because a friend, you got to trust that person, like you said before, of having your back when you're not in the room. And mistakes are made. I think peer pressure is a real thing.
absolutely,
So you got to give people enough grace to correct themselves. But
hmm
if you put it out there for everybody else to comment on, you've already made your decision on that friendship.
right,
And I think that when people do that, they have a lot of shortened friendships probably. Because if that's your natural aspect is to go public with grievances, then you probably don't have a lot of close friendships. Because I was talking to our youth group today about it, but I told them, I said, anytime, one thing I've learned through all the years, anytime that you need to talk to somebody about someone's actions and there's somebody else in the room, the wall is already up. They don't want to be made look like a fool. They don't want their mistakes aired out for anybody else to comment on. If you want a real conversation with somebody and actually have growth, then you need to bring that information to them one on one. And if you don't bring it one on one, then you've automatically like put up a wall on that person. They don't want to hear it. So if you bring it to them one on one and they don't change, the only, and it says it in the Bible, is the only thing else thing you do is you bring in a mediator. You bring in another person. It says one other person, and that person does not side with you. That person has a neutral point of view. And when you do that, it says, hey, I value this friendship. I want us to get past this. And
hmm
if you can't listen to me, I would like for you to like hear from this other person, once they hear both sides and see, who, it doesn't have to be one person's in the wrong. It's, hey, we both made mistakes. Let's learn from them and let's move forward. And if you can't do that, then that friendship is not going to last. And I think that's where we worked hard in those beginning years to build a good foundation to where we could trust each other enough to not only uplift but keep things in check. And it was, when you're comfortable with that, it doesn't feel good when someone's like, hey, that wasn't cool. It doesn't feel good. That's your ego when it gets bruised. But at the same time, if you can't say, you know what, I did need to do better on that, and I got your back from now on. Like, if I don't act the way you want me to on this, then we need to have another discussion, because it may be something like I'm either not seeing or that I don't believe, like in my core values, may be different. So it's and if your core values are different, then friendship may not last. And one thing I was reading is that women have like 1 to 4 close friends, and I've heard the number, like you have a circle of 5. Okay. And if somebody gets off of that 5, like you can only focus on 5 people like that, because it takes a lot to maintain that friendship, right? So if you're in a season where, okay, when we graduated college, you were working somewhere, you were up in the city, I moved home. We had a little bit of a lull because we had major life changes that pulled us apart. We're no longer on a day-to-day basis. We didn't talk a whole lot. And I was also trying to find friends here because I had a brand new circle now to come back to. I had my friend from high school. R has definitely been like a rock in my world. But I didn't really start hanging out with her until our senior year of high school. It's not like we grew up together. Our senior year of high school is whenever we formed that friendship, and we just kind of kept on with it. And so with me and her, it's been 26 years. So it's kind of, she was down here, but she was still in school and working, and she was doing her own thing. So I was trying to find like friends down here. And when you're doing that, you're going to neglect people that you had before. Because that circle can only, like, you can only put so many people in that circle to focus on. It doesn't mean you don't care about them and love them. It's just that you can't focus on them like you had been, because your friend circle can only be so big. And, but I think, like, if it's strong enough, like mine and yours was, that you come back together and you're even stronger than you were. You know what I mean? Because then you bring those life experiences that were going on in those void moments, and you pull it back in. And it was like a renewed kind of friendship. It was like when we because it's not like we just stopped talking. It's just
No.
Yeah, it's not like it was well, screw her. Steady. She's off on that side. It was just kind of like a natural kind of lull. You know what I mean? But it was but it was us. We were talking about like those major life changes, and then you kind of are going off and you're learning and doing things, on your own. But then when you come back together, it makes it stronger, because now you bring in those life experiences and you bring them back to each other again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maintaining these friendships and cultivating connections and bonds as an adult looks a lot different than when we were in college, because there is bigger things that are changing once you're out of college. People get married, people have kids, people move, people change jobs. There's then our parents start having issues, and so we've got to be there for them, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. Right after college, I went ahead and moved home. Very strangely, never thought I would do that. I thought, my mom even thought, oh, my kids moved away, I'll never have them back home. Never. And then 5 years later, we were back home. But it was right after God brought me home, because right after I come home, Hurricane Katrina happened,
Yeah.
and then interior designers were needed. I was here like helping my parents rebuild their business, and then also kind of starting up my own business and getting that going. And then that's when I needed help, and that's when I
Yeah.
called you, and I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
you looking for a job?" Because I need help. And it was funny because when you came down, and my aunt used to work for us, and she goes, "You and Shimmy have like a whole other language. Like y'all could just look at each other, and y'all have like this, like we don't even know what y'all are talking about, and you're just like blabbing away." And we had, a junior designer and an intern and an assistant, and we were just like, floating along in this, both of us trying to figure it all out. And we would be sitting apart, like the same desk, but we had that little divider.
Yeah.
And we would just like start conversations. And then, like, the next day you would say something, and I would pick right back up on it. Like, we
Yes.
were still having that conversation. And it was just so funny to like listen to other people around us, because we got really, really close. It was like even closer from college. We
Yes.
got really
Yes.
close
Yes, we
because
did.
you were away from home.
Uh
You
huh.
come to Mississippi, which we will talk about that. We have a whole other podcast topic on uh, you
Moving
moving to
to this.
Mississippi.
Okay.
But
That's.
it was, yeah. And it was, kind of like I got my friend back. We're on a daily basis talking to each other,
Uh huh.
working together. And then there's the whole, now I'm your boss.
Yeah.
But
And how did that work? Right.
yeah, which we could have that conversation later too, because that is definitely one we should have. Because I think that not many people could do it and remain friends. But we had to have that kind of line, and once we deciphered where the line was, I think we were cool with it. But it was definitely odd. But it was just like, oh, my friend is right here. We were both single. We were both still back in the interior design, like day to day crunch, and we had a blast with it. But we got a lot stronger then, and I
Mm.
think it had to do with just like those highs and lows and really living life together with that. I think
Yeah.
that was a fantastic kind of forging of our bond. But not
Yeah.
not everybody has that kind of a situation to be able to kind of forge those adult friendship bonds from.
Hmm.
So what do you think that other people can do to kind of maintain and cultivate those really strong bonds?
Like we've been saying this whole time, open communication.
Mm-hmm.
When things happen, um, and it's not to say that it's all going to um be smooth as far as for communicating. But if you say the strong points of how you feel about something, and generally if they're a good friend, they'll listen. And you're an amazing friend, and you listen. I think that's why it worked so well, is because we would listen to each other, and we
Mm-hmm.
made space for that. And a lot of times people don't make space for that. Like they they would rather want to see their point made versus wanting to see the value of a friendship, the
Right.
quality of a friendship. So we we always put that aside and know that the value of our friendship. And I think that's a lot of things there, that we always had that. Um, and just knowing somebody, the the authenticity of this person and who they are. Like I know your family, um, your immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know so much of mine, which I find
Mm-mm.
very interesting.
I know, but the thing is, you lived like with and around mine, and yours were
Yes,
always in another city.
yes,
So
yes,
it
and I
was
think
I.
that's what it
I
was.
still call it like your mom's phone number in my phone is still Mama.
Oh,
It's still
really?
Mama. Yeah, it's still Mama. So it is like, to me, I may not be able to pick her out in a lineup, but like I know
Uh-huh.
her voice and I know like if she starts talking like that's mama. Like we had
Right.
conversations before,
Yes.
but it was still like I could never get the big hug, you know what I mean? But I felt
Yes.
it. It was like I felt
Yes.
like I was still part of it, but it was like it was a different like you got immediate access to my family because you were like basically living with them at one point,
Yeah.
just for a moment, it was just kind of yeah.
Yeah.
And my
And let me
parents
tell
think of
you,
you as their adopted daughter.
absolutely. Yes. And I call her mama.
Uh-huh.
And it's so funny. When I had graduated, I'm sorry, E was there and you
Uh-huh.
were there. And the contrast of it, my mom embraced you, was like, thank you so much. And for looking out for my daughter and this, that, and other. And my sisters embraced you and everything. It was
Yeah.
like, we love Brandy. And then say hi to E. And it was
Uh-huh.
like, ah, no.
Really? Really?
No one in my family liked her, except my sister. But it was more of a watchful eye with her, which I
Yeah.
find very interesting. I was like, nobody liked her. Like when they met her, they did not gravitate towards her,
Yeah.
and that hurt
Hmm.
my feelings. But they did not like her. Nobody liked her.
But
My
I
mama
will
didn't
tell
like
you, families can see things that we cannot,
her. Yeah,
and we need to pay attention to that
yes.
because I've had some where my family is like, that person's using you, right? And I'm like, no, no, she's great. They have no problem with it. It's like, and then like later on, I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about. And your parents and your family, especially siblings, can pick it out and they can be very protective of you. But whenever you don't see it, you get really um, defensive because you are loyal to friends and you want them
Right,
to, be part of your family. And
right.
whenever your family's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
You're like, what?
right.
What? Like, this is like, they need to be part of the family. They need this. And you're like,
Yeah.
they're saying, no, it's not going to fly. So, yeah, we've had a few where it's just like, my parents have fully embraced. And then some
Mhm.
that they're like, okay, we'll embrace them because they're your friend, but they're not what you need. Like, this is not long term. And they're able to pick up on that before we do. So listen to it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say I have had to let not friends go, but I had to take a step back
Yeah.
just because I think it's that back to that five circle again. If your
Mhm.
husband is one of them, then
Mm.
that takes up a circle, of that five.
Right.
And I do. My husband is like one of my very best friends. Like he is, I could tell him anything. I'm completely comfortable with him. We have no trust issues whatsoever. Like it is open communication. And I think I learned that and the value of that from like you and L and R, and it was just and my own parents, they're watching their relationship. And it was if your husband isn't one of the five, then you have a problem that you need to fix because that's not a relationship that I suggest. Whenever you find your husband, if you want one,
Uh
I
huh.
want them to be like to take over that top position of your best friend. Like I want them to be in that position. And any friend who doesn't allow that to happen, like they're constantly getting in the way of you and your husband,
Yeah.
then you need to have a check with them
Absolutely.
because that needs to be your number one. And then everyone around that needs to support that. And if they don't support that, then that's not going to fulfill you in any way, because that's going to have problems later on. But
Mhm.
um, if he is one of your five, then you're down to four. And if you have like a long term friends that even if you don't talk to them every day, if they will be there when you need them, those are relationships you want to maintain and cultivate, even if it is okay, maybe once every 3 to 6 months we actually get together. We may send text and stuff back and forth, but when we do get together, it's like nothing ever stopped.
Right.
And I think that's how it was with me and you. We started this whole podcast and blog and everything because we wanted to be around each other, and we thought our interaction could actually be better in more of a public platform
Uh-huh.
because that bond was so strong.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of them, but you have those long-term ones that you have to keep on that track. So then there's those everyday ones, like, okay, Will now has friends. I've made really good friends with some of his friends, you know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
but if he stops being friends with some of these kids,
Mhm.
then it starts to put a stressor on, the friendship I have made with their parents,
Right.
because, he's wanting to block out, but yet I'm still like on it, like, okay, well, you got to hang out with so and so because, I mean, his mom's going to come, and it's just kind of like, you could tell Will's just not like, it's run its course for him, and he's just in
Mhm.
the kid, mode of like, what's his interest then.
Right.
He's not looking to maintain friendships for long distances of time at such a young age. Um, he has some that he's had for a long time, but those kind of ebb and flow right now too, because I mean he's only 12 right now, but we're talking like a few years
Right.
ago it was just kind of, but those friendships, because of him, because they're linked to him, don't have the longevity factor in there. And so whenever you're having to let that go, that feels strange whenever you have such a loyalty that you're wanting to maintain and be there for everybody. Physically, you can't do it, especially if you have family and kids. I mean, if physically you just can't do it because you can't be there like people deserve for more than
Mhm.
5 people. You just really can't. And it whenever your family is in it, and that is one thing. One struggle I've had with maintaining friendships is that when I'm in the drudges of parenthood, I like really just latch on to John, and I just kind of like try to find an oasis in the storm. And
Yeah.
so there's a few people that I'm like, I could talk to you forever, and that's like you and like a couple other ones that have, it's a very strong trusting relationship where I could like tell you something I would never tell like anybody else, and I know it's
Mhm.
not going to go anywhere,
Exactly.
and it's just between me and you, and you're going to tell me the truth, and you may commiserate with me for a minute, but then you could be like, you're in the wrong, right? So I've seen like the friend groups that
Mhm.
get together and go on vacation together,
Yeah.
and they look like there's 15 best friends in all the pictures online. But then you hear, like, you're not even in the group, and you hear all of the little cliques that's happening within the group and all the drama that's happening within the group. And you're like, why would you want to be
Around someone.
with that many people and then have to maintain the status quo or drama filled whatever just because it looks good in the pictures? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But a lot of people
Yeah.
do it. And I don't know if it's more like, hey, I have these great friends and we're all going to do this together, and doesn't it look great? Or if they really think that they're friends. And they're not. They're not.
No.
They're not friends like me and you are friends,
Right.
where, we may not go on vacation together, but yet we're always going to be here for each other, no matter what. So,
Exactly. I think a lot of people who feel like if they have a big or a huge friend group, it validates them of saying that yes, I'm this cool person that you should hang out with. It's kind of a more of a ego thing, as you mentioned. Of yeah, I'm such a great person that I have all these people around me. Yeah, you have to look into yourself to be comfortable, being alone at times. And um, you know, shifting out who's really your friend and who's just there to use you or whatever it is for, because those people, of course, you don't want in your life. So I would just suggest that to everyone is to basically audit your friendships.
Hmm. That's a
To
that's a really
see,
good thing advice, because people are sometimes only there for a season, but yet,
yeah,
to audit those friendships, I think it's really good, because there may be something that you need to do to step into it more. But then some maybe like you're giving more and not like it's probably run its course if you're not getting things
right,
back. And not saying it's never going to come back. It's just it
yeah,
may be on pause right now. Maybe
hmm
learning in your learning mode. So yeah, no, I
hmm
get it.
yeah.
I think we had a great conversation. I love
I
this
think
one.
this was I made this one was really
Move
good. This
move
one
the
was
camera that
really
way. Yeah, yeah. There you
this one was
go.
really good. So
It was. I liked it.
yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. See, episode 2. What?
Episode
Episode
two.
2. Episode 2. Love it. Thank you so much for joining us during this episode. Friendships mean the world to us, as you can tell, and we're really excited that you were able to join us. If you want to connect with us outside of the podcast, our Instagram is the.effervescent.home, and our blog is theeffervescenthome.com. You can find a lot of information that is different from our podcast. It has a little bit more on the homesteading side, homemaking, parenting, and also design. So all of that information is on our blog at theeffervescenthome.com. And then if you want to actually see the episodes, if you're listening to this and you want to see the episodes and kind of our interaction physically with each other, that is on our YouTube channel at The Effervescent Home. All of these connections will be on the show notes, so go ahead and click on that and you can go right to our links from there. And we will see you next week for another episode. Bye.